Welcome back to another episode of the Budget Overland Podcast. I'm your host, Benji, and today in studio, I've got a good friend of mine, Tony with Bats Offroad. Tony, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. I'm doing really good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad that this kind of worked out. It was a little last minute, but I'm glad that you were able to hop on. So.
Yeah. I think it worked out great.
Yep. So, real quick before we get into today's episode, don't forget, go over to Budget Overland portal.com, sign up for our monthly insider deals. We're kicking off a new campaign next month. I'm not really going to say who it is just yet, but it's going to be a good one. So you're going to want to sign up there. While you're over there, go buy a patch and some stickers that help support the show. And then also don't forget to go over to Apple Podcasts, leave Budget Overland Podcast a review. We are currently sitting around 160, and once we hit 200, we're going to do the Super Swag Pack Plus giveaway, which is all the stickers in the store, a patch, a custom T-shirt, and then Morflate is donating a quad hose system that's an inflator-deflator 4-hose system. So yeah, you're going to want to go sign up. Once you guys are entered to win that, you're guaranteed to be in the pool, if you will, for the drawing. So without further ado, Tony, what the heck is going on, man?
Dude, we are loving this fall weather. We got plans for trips coming up, and but I think we're skipping over a little bit of the fall weather really quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be in the 20s, like late 20s or early next week. So
I don't know how I feel about that, but I was kind of talking to some people local here because we're about 4 hours away from each other, not too bad. So we get kind of the same weather. But I was talking to some friends here, and this is, and my wife even, we noticed that the fall foliage is actually a thing this year. Usually that weather will turn, and then a big storm will come knock all the leaves off, and it sucks. But I'm glad we got to experience some of that.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good color this weekend, but we've got like 80-90% chance of rain both days. So, and then 20 degrees. That'll be.
Sucks.
Yeah. Anyway,
it coming at us real fast because I don't know about you, but we've been like in the 80s and the 70s, and that's going to be a cold reality.
I'm going to need the fall to last around, hang around a little longer.
Seems like every year we just we just skip it. But anyway,
right.
So what kind of trips do you got coming up, real quick? I know you said you're going to be busy. We talked a little earlier on the phone, but if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about kind of your slam packed, I guess, with little trips here and there.
Yeah, so we have, I go on some of the Go Explore trips. I wish I could say I get to go on all of them, but it doesn't work out. There's a women's trip this weekend that, we're missing out on. But the following weekend, we've got a Go Explore trip in the Ozarks. And then, let's see, we've got a veterans trip that we're going on around the weekend of the 10th, November 10th. And then, the next trip after that is the second weekend of December. Yeah. The listener retreat, listener camp out, trail ride and camp out. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That is something I failed to mention. You're co-host of Brofessor Bats and Friends. Sorry, I should have probably put that in there. So Tony's going to be
it's all right.
Joey the Brofessor, and we've got Arla and Misty with Lady Overlander Radio, and we're kind of partnering on this because we've all got that's 3 podcasts. So we're kind of doing little hints here and there. It's called the Listener Hangout. We will say it's in the state of Arkansas. It is the second weekend of December, rain or shine or snow, whatever. But we're going to slowly kind of give hints and clues. We're still kind of working on that, but we're going to really push that heavy, I guess, when we get closer. But anyway, if you guys are listening and want to join us, pay attention to the show. Go check out their podcasts also. We're going to be sharing the same information, and then we're going to say, hey, here's the dates, which you guys already have. All we're going to do is say, here's the location, meet us there. We're just going to have a hangout, and it's going to be a blast.
Right.
And it's kind of the first for me. You guys have done listener hangouts, right, before?
Yeah, we did one back in May, I think it was. And there was a decent turnout. There was probably 20 rigs or so.
Nice.
So it was fun. It was a great time.
Was that your first one?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because when did me and you start talking about this? When was that? Months ago.
It was July. It was July when we went to Gilbert and camped there, yeah.
So whenever you do nothing and sit your butt on the banks and in the water all day, you do a lot of thinking and talking. That was a good
That's
trip,
right.
man.
That's right.
And then we're we come up with all these killer ideas. So I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
But for people to know Tony a little bit better, why don't you tell us like kind of the origin and your background to where you started getting into this overlanding thing, if you knew what it was called at the time or if you saw people do it, just kind of go back to the genesis, if you will.
Yeah, so my wife and I have been together about 30 years now, and throughout our marriage, we've camped in various ways, tents, campers, all that kind of stuff. We had four-wheelers, we did off-roading and things like that. And then, around the time COVID started, we started realizing that it was getting harder and harder to get reservations at some of the places that we like to go camping. And, started sort of considering other options. And my wife came home, it was right after the first of the year in January of 2019. And she says, "Hey, I think I want to get a Jeep." And I was like, "Oh, okay." In my mind, I'm thinking that we're gonna, go. This was like a Tuesday, and I was thinking, we're gonna go out this weekend and drive around and look and see what's out there. No, she went the next day on her lunch hour and found the one she wanted, and then she brought it home Wednesday night.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so she was a little more determined than I realized.
Buy it, or was she like kind of?
Yeah, no, she bought it. It was the first vehicle that we weren't together as buyers on it in 30 years.
I experienced that with my wife this past spring. I was just like, because I've been in the car business for 10 plus years, and I tinker on stuff. I know you're mechanically inclined. You've tinkered on stuff, and for me, when I go look at cars, I look at that negative stuff, and I just pop the bubble on everything. But I could relate, and it's kind of nice, to be honest with you, because she's happy. I'm happy I didn't have to dick with it, and then So anyway, she got what she wanted, and it was cool, right? I mean, it was a good looking Jeep. There was two of them. She got the gray one, and at the time I was like, man, that red one looked kind of good too, but whatever. So we start trying to figure out how to change it up. We start thinking about lifts, and we're not sure if we want to go all out and all these kind of things. And so you get on YouTube and you start searching for Jeep stuff, and then the next thing you know, you come across like Chad with Overland Addict and some of those guys, the local guys here, and then you start hearing about Rendezvous and these things, and you start going to Rendezvous, and then it's like, holy cow, this is a whole thing, vehicle-based camping. What year was this? That she got the Jeep, and you guys?
She got the Jeep in January of 2019.
Okay, so that's like the prime time, I guess you could say. We'll talk about more in depth. I've got some other questions about this overlanding thing, but Rendezvous 19 was your first year you guys attended that?
Yeah.
Is that it?
It's the first time we heard anything about it. Yeah.
Sweet, man.
And actually, no, I'm going to withhold that thought. I may be speaking out the side of my mouth on that, but anyway, go ahead.
If you need to change names or whatever, man, you're fine to do so. You do
No, it's good. No, it's good. But
if you guys notice on the podcast, I'll use Jimmy and Johnny and Susie and Sarah a lot. That's replacing actual people, so it's fine. Nobody's going to know the difference.
Yeah, that's the situation.
Okay, that's fine.
So, I mean, we just, just felt really inspired by some of the people that were getting out and camping and doing it out of their rigs in various forms, whether it's a ground tent or rooftop tent. That was the first time I'd learned what a rooftop tent was, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm spending, $4,000 on a tent.
Was that back when like 23-0 owned the market on rooftop tents?
Yeah,
like
I think so. Yeah.
And I remember everyone down there was like buying a Rome or a 23-0 rooftop tent. I'm like,
our first one happened to be a Rome. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, you guys are stupid. You don't need this stuff. And then 2 years, 3 years later, I bought. And we'll talk about this too. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, well, I mean, to jump forward and then come back a little bit, as far as a rooftop tent, our first trip to Colorado, it was a huge eye opener because I realized, I thought we were well on our way. We had a good lift, off-road tires, and I felt like we were equipped pretty well. But our tent, we froze our butts off in Colorado in our tent. So that's when I started reconsidering my situation, my position, I guess, on the rooftop tents.
Did you guys have any sorts of like heaters? That would have been pre-diesel heater craze. So either a buddy heater or just a bunch of blankets.
My buddy heater is what we took, and I think the first night there, just west of Silverton, I think we went through all of the propane bottles, those little green cylinders that we brought. Yeah, and it was only like 28 degrees that night.
And the elevation probably messed with it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, there's that. But
so fast forward, you got you a Jeep too down the road, or if you want to keep going back to where she got her Jeep and you guys kitted hers out first.
Yes.
Did you get stung by the bug, or how'd that work?
Yeah. So we got to the point. For the most part, we agreed. And it's her Jeep. Right, and for the most part, we agreed on everything that we wanted to do. But she tends to gravitate more towards the off-roading than I do. She loves to hit all of the nasty mud holes and, doesn't have any reservations about all that stuff.
But she's not the one working on it afterwards either, is she? That's it. Bingo.
Yahtzee. Bingo.
So that's whenever you get all that clay and that mud up in there and you're like...
Oh, the concrete, the mud that you have to chip out. Yeah.
That's why I avoid it like the plague.
Yeah, there's no need to get into the nastiest stuff, but it's fun every now and then. Anyway, so we go a few times, and then my truck. I was working from home, so at the time I had a 2008 Ford F-250. I bought it new. It was a great truck, great shape, reasonably low mileage. I mean, it was 13 years old at the time and had, 120,000 miles maybe.
Nice.
It's a great truck. It was paid for. I had no reason to get rid of it. And then as time went on, we started having different, visions for what we wanted for the Wrangler. And, she suggested, well, maybe it's time for you to look at your own Jeep.
Nice.
So that's sort of what happened. I started hearing about the diesel version. And I was like, I think I want to drive one and see what it's about. And we went that one Saturday. We went to 6 dealerships, and I was looking for a sport specifically, and nobody had a diesel. But there was a dealership in Missouri just across the state line that had the one that I have now. And I just was walking down the line, and I looked at it, and I was like, I wasn't even looking for a Snazberry. But it's grown on me quite a bit. I was looking for a blue or another gray.
It's killer.
Yeah.
So was this 2020? You guys were looking for you?
This was 21.
Okay,
I got it in 21.
A year and a half, 2 years later.
July of 21.
Okay.
So a little over 2 years.
And you told me you didn't want to drive it around town because it looked stupid with the tires.
I hated it. I was embarrassed. I absolutely hated it. And she loved it. She drove it all over. In fact, she there was some sort of, she's got family in Indianapolis, and so she needed to run up there for something, and I had to stay back. So she took the Gladiator and put 1,200 miles on it. But when it got back, that's whenever I actually didn't trade my old truck in. I sold it outright.
Nice.
And so that's what I used. We paid some bills, but I just ordered ordered everything I could find that was in stock.
So whenever she got back, all this stuff was probably showing up to your doorstep, parts-wise, maybe.
Pretty soon after she got back, yeah. I mean, it didn't have probably 3,000 miles on it before we put the wheels and tires in the lift and all that stuff on it. And then,
so it's probably beneficial that she bought hers first. You guys had to experiment with her rig, and then once you got years, you already knew what you didn't like about hers, and you know, if you guys had different, you know, opinions on things, you could build it out however you wanted. So you already had the experience there, and you didn't have to like throw money away per se. You know, if you guys already kind of played with her rig a little bit.
That's exactly right. And you know, we progressed. We bought, I don't know, it was like a $300 rough country lift at the very get-go, and 33-inch tires. And the first time we went out, we had a blast, but we also realized that we were already not where we needed to be or wanted to be.
Yeah.
So a few months later, we got the next step up in the rough country kit, and that's what carried us to Colorado the first time, and it worked great. But as we continued to build and add weight and things of that nature, you know, we realized, you know, that we were sort of going beyond what that kit was intended for. So, and then we got the Clayton.
Thing. Well, that's what I always talk about with people, and I think it's fine that, you know, people start out with a budget. It's a lower end lift suspension, and go out and see if you even like it. Buy a used tent, or even get a ground tent first, and go out and just see if you even like it. And
exactly.
Then as it snowballs, it's either going to snowball or it's not. You're going to love it or you're going to hate it. There's no in the middle of forcing yourself to do this thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't recommend anybody, even going through what we went through as far as the progression. I wouldn't recommend anybody just, you know, stepping off into a $3,000 suspension lift. You know, if you're not 100% sure. When I bought the Gladiator, I was 110% sure. But
and you wanted to do it right out of the gate, so you didn't have to go back and blow money on it again.
Well, and I think, you know, I have I enjoy working on them. You know, the house that we had before we moved to where we're at now, I didn't have a garage, so I really enjoy getting out in the garage and tinkering. You know, so it's not like I was having to invest a lot in labor costs too.
Yeah.
So.
And that was 21, you said, so it was right before everything kind of ballooned, if you will. Don't get this confused with Overland tax people, but I'm saying the price, everything pretty much doubled. What was it, like last year?
It was early last year, but whenever we started building the Gladiator, the challenge that we had was, you know, if you remember that summer, there was hundreds of containers off the port of container ships off the port of Long Beach. So much of what I was interested in was just kind of stuck out there in the ports, and you know, so I shopped around and had to sort of build it out of stuff that I could find in stock. So.
What a nightmare! I forgot all about that,
man. I tried to.
Politics, but man, that's something you'll tell your grandkids, and they'll tell their maybe they might forget about it. Who knows?
Right.
So let's talk. We've kind of already touched on a little bit, but I've been doing this since 2017-ish, you know, wheeling and stuff, and then camping out of my buggy, and, you know, doing very minimalist camping here and there. You know, I'd throw up a ground tent, and didn't have lockers. I had a cheap rough country lift, and whatever, you know, just I went down to Arkansas. You watch YouTubers like Matt and all those guys. What's his face? Grant. You know, I loved his channel, even with his TJ. It was cool. And so you just be like, hey, I want to go down there. It looks fantastic. Yeah. And then so a buddy of mine invited me and a couple friends to go to a rendezvous. I think it was 2017 or 18. And I was that guy that was like laughing at rooftop tents, laughing at people's jet boils, laughing at, you paid how much for that? It was just like overwhelming. And I think there's still a sense of people today that I call it, we're all on different journeys. And I just want to say it's like we all evolve from wherever you're at. And there's nothing wrong with that. So
Right.
I feel like the people that come into Budget Overland, we have great conversations and great discussions over there on the Facebook group. If you guys aren't in there, it's a closed group. Go check it out. But anyway, you'll see these guys, and that I'm like, that was me. I was the one raising a fuss about this stupid stuff, and then people like to call it overland tax, which, to be honest, I mean, most of that's made up, and you could tell if a company is trying to price gouge you. But there's not a huge demand to mass produce some of this stuff. They're pretty much building them almost by hand, and that costs money, especially if you're paying for the USA made products, which I'd love to support as much as I can. But I mean, if you look back on the past year, inflation has just been crazy, and minimum wage is just like, you just got to, where do you compete? So you're going to stick it. It's the, what do you call it? The chain of effects or whatever. It's going to eventually catch up. So I think a lot of people confuse that with the overland tax. But what I was getting at with evolving is our mindsets are different. Our priorities are different. I think now for a lot of us that have been doing it more than 4 or 5 years, I think we're trying to be more minimalist now, because the clutter and crap we take with us, if you're not organized, it's miserable. It's absolutely miserable. If you are getting to camp late, or if it's raining and you're looking and you're fighting, if you take your spouse with you and you're setting up your tent and all this stuff, it's just, I think people just want a simpler loadout and experience. So there's different levels, folks.
Yeah. I mean, I evolved from living out of roam boxes, because in my mind, when I got the truck, I'm a truck guy. And so I didn't really, at the time, I wasn't really too keen on sort of devoting the bed space completely to camping gear.
Right.
And so I was living out of these 95-liter roam boxes where I, would just throw my camping stuff in there. And then when I'd get home, I'd unload them in the garage, and then I'd have my truck bed. Well, I got tired of that.
Right.
I got tired of putting them in and out, and then it never failed at camp. If I had one on the ground under my tailgate, I was digging in the wrong one, and it was a pain. So then the drawer systems come along. I built a drawer system for my wife's Jeep, and we ended up taking that out, and we re-gifted it kind of to Misty. Well, Misty is upgrading her situation, so the drawers are actually getting ready to come back home.
Oh, nice.
So I'm gonna, probably repurpose them again. So yes. I don't know. I enjoy it, but I build what I can. DIY what I can, buy what I have to, or what I think I have to. Anyway.
Well, and that's another thing is knowing your needs versus wants. I always tell that to people. They're like, well, what do I need? Get in your car, go drive somewhere, take a 2-nighter, take a 1-nighter. Camp in your backyard without going to your house, and see what you actually need. And I think people get caught up with, and I think for you and I, we've not been doing it forever, but we've been doing it a minute. We know what we're doing by now, or have a good grasp of it. I don't want to be sounding cocky or nothing, but I think a lot of people watch these YouTube guys or look at Instagram pictures, and they feel like, oh, I need that. But that's for those person's application. And there's a lot of people out there that don't even have rooftop tents. They sleep in hammocks year-round. It doesn't matter. They might sleep in the back of their truck if they've got a camper or a topper on the back. So there's different platforms for everyone. The Gazelles, once those things came out, poof, that was another huge game changer. Because there's a lot of people that are physically unable to crawl up a rooftop tent. I'm not just saying elderly people. There's big guys. There's people with prosthetics and stuff like that can't crawl up in their dogs. It's hard on big dogs to get up there. So I think now it's kind of evolved to where there's a lot of options.
So that really has kind of highlighted a point for us, because we're both in just barely 50 now, and my wife needs her left knee needs to be replaced. But because of her age, they want her to put it off as long as possible, and it's hurting her. And so her tent is on a trailer, but it's been the past few times we've gone out, it's increasingly more painful for her to get up in the tent. So now we're sort of considering the options of, a trailer, if you will. We already have the trailer, but it's an open 5x8 utility trailer with a bed rack and a rooftop tent on it. So I'm sort of kicking around the idea of, DIYing an enclosure on that
nice.
Might work. Something that I can work on over
like
winter and stuff.
Build on top of it, like a structure on top of it, kind of like style or a permanent structure.
No, not a permanent structure. What I was thinking is, at Rendezvous, we were camped next to Jeff with Badak, and I was looking at his trailer, and I was thinking, okay, it's birch plywood, with a coating on the outside, and I have a little shop out here. I used to piddle with cornhole boards and stuff like that, but I have experience putting together some wood stuff, and I'm thinking if I build a box, I can lift the wood tailgate off the back of the trailer, and if I build a box that's slightly smaller than 5x8, that's however 40 or 48 inches tall, that I can put in this trailer without too much modification to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
That'd be a fun project also in and of itself. You didn't build the trailer 100%, right? You just kind of went in there and you modified it heavily. Or did you build it?
I did not build it. A buddy of mine, I went to, my wife and I went with Joey and his wife down to Big Bend in 2020. No, 21. December 2021, and we took both of our vehicles, and Joey took his rig and his trailer. We base camped, but the situation was that we had to pack up one vehicle every day. But we with kids, we couldn't both of us sleep in one rig. Anyway, what I realized is that I needed a trailer for a family setup, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he says, well, I've got a trailer out here that I'm not going to use. You're welcome to have it. And it's been out in the back of his pasture since 1983. And it needed just about everything, wood. The axles were seized, and they kind of rolled, but so I did a whole all new wood. Some of the frame was bent. I cut off, what was bent, replaced it, painted it, put a new axle, wheels and tires, fabricated fenders for it. It was a tilt trailer, so I got rid of that part and I fabricated a new tongue for it. So, it's heavily modified from what it started life as, but...
Yeah, it looks killer, man, because you're running the same size tire and bolt pattern, correct, as your Jeep.
Yeah, same bolt pattern, and it's a 35-inch tire.
You're running 37s on your Jeep?
On mine, yeah. My wife has 35s on hers, so her spare, either spare, would work. If I put mine on, it'd be slightly, off, but it'd be fine.
Sweet, man. So when are you considering doing that? Like trailer?
It'd be a long process, but probably over the winter.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe buy more, maybe.
What are you thinking? Like just something where you throw like a mattress in there? Or are you gonna put windows? Are you gonna put ductwork?
Yeah. So
diesel heater, AC.
Yeah, it's so the trailer, the way it sits now, it's got a tongue box which has all the power stuff in it.
Brilliant, freaking brilliant.
Yeah, that was a fun project. I loved building that. And then inside the frame, there's a just like an in the bed toolbox that I got from Tractor Supply. I'll probably pull that out. But you know how those utility trailers have a frame, that's like 18 inches tall, goes all the way around. What I thought I would do is cut the frame out in the front and make an opening in the frame for doors, side entry doors, and then maybe a door on the back for a kitchen or something. So
that would be killer.
Yeah. And then I could still put some sort of bed rack on top, if I needed to. But at that point, it's probably going to be close to 7 feet tall if I make it the box 48 inches tall. because the trailer sits up on 35s anyway.
Yeah.
So therein lies, another internal debate that I have about getting in the garage door.
You sound like you need to just go van life. Just go van life. Nah.
I mean, I'm not opposed to van life, other than the
aspect.
That, and all of the vans I think are cool are like $150,000.
Exactly, $150,000, $200,000.
Yeah, I'm not about that life, not yet.
No, not yet. But have you noticed? And let's shift gears just a little bit. If we want to come back and talk about whatever, but like, I wanted to talk to you about, and I've seen this come up quite a bit. This is kind of not a loaded question, but there's like probably a two-part question maybe. But like, where's the direction of this thing called overlanding headed? Like, you know what I'm saying? You've surely seen a change, and I just like to pick your brain on it, and we can spitball back and forth on kind of our opinions and thoughts. But like, where do you think overlanding's headed? And not necessarily from a corporate side, but just, the name and the terms used very loosely. So, like, do you feel like we're getting ready to do a decline? Are we so spread thin? Nobody knows what the heck we're doing, but we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Are there too many gatekeepers? Are there not enough?
Well,
where are we going?
Well, I mean, if I go back to my childhood, we camped out of the bed of a pickup with a tarps over, sticking, 2x4s in the bed and putting a tarp over. We did that forever as a kid. So before I knew it was overlanding, I've been doing camping like that forever. And I don't really foresee that in and of itself changing. Maybe the verbiage or the words that are being used to describe it is changed or looked at a little different, but
so as far as what we know, what overlanding, it's called overlanding. You could Google it, and the first thing that pops up are decked out rigs, rooftop tents. You got traction boards. You got fancy coffee things, all this crap. I mean, I didn't want to use the term corporate, but I mean it's kind of an Instagram-worthy word, I guess.
Yeah.
But, like, as far as from back when, Rito, 17, 18, 19 Rito, it had a different vibe. Like, this year just felt like a different vibe. Now, I'm not sure if that has anything to do with, like, the economy or what.
Earlier this summer, I probably would have said that I feel like there may be a little bit of a regression in terms of what we're seeing just because of the economy. You see people, they're not spending as much or any on gear. They're not spending money on fuel to go out. And, so I think for a period of time this summer that slowed down. Maybe it's a combination of, at least in our neck of the woods, it's hotter than Satan's armpit. And so you see a normal declining outdoor activity, but combined with, the economy, maybe that's just... Anyway, so what I would say now is I'm seeing things pick up a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, sort of... I don't know. I expected this...
Huh?
Well, I was going to say I did kind of anticipate, some of the fadness wearing off, and you start seeing Facebook Marketplace flooded with gear that's, used a couple of times and great shape kind of stuff. And I think we saw a little bit of that early in the summer, but that didn't. I don't know. I don't feel like that lasted as long as I thought it was going to.
So another thing, because I kind of got this idea, and I know it's been going around a lot of people's heads, but like on Overlanding USA, which is ran by Midland USA, some guy asked that question because he's like, hey, there's an uptick in gear in his area of gently used overland items per se, and he's just kind of like, hey, is this fad or is this a fad? Is it digressing or anything? And then people were chiming in and all that. Somehow they change it up to be like the internet. That's not a very heavily modded group, if you will. I don't blame them. They've got better things to do. It's hard to moderate a group. But some topics that came up was there's too many influencers now kind of running it, which I could see, like, back in the day, home videos was cool. So people going around with their phones isn't anything new, in the last 10, 15 years. Maybe the way they're doing it. And another thing was kind of the corporate greed from easy money grabs from some startup companies, just because they see that there's a market there. Even like Jeep just came out with some stuff. Toyota came out with some stuff to where it's targeting this market. But I think they're too late to the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid you're right. I mean, some of these companies are coming out, and I don't know.
I think it happens with anything, and I understand that, as far as, like, for you and I, we get messages from companies, and they're like, hey, can you review this? Can you share this? Can you do that? I'm sure you guys got, and yourself probably have some standards and stuff that you're not going to review something that you don't jive with. And then I think, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it has to do with people that are like, hey, let's just rebrand this thing and throw it at this demographic and see if it sticks. What we got to lose? Especially right now with the economy. I mean, if you're selling matches, you could probably sell it to anybody, but, griddles and all that crap, sure, why not? But there's good companies out there too. And you also got to, and I don't want to go down this rant. I just want to kind of just pick your brain on it.
Well, and I may not have my finger on the right pulse when it comes to that stuff, because the other side of that, my situation is I'm pretty happy with the build that I have, and I'm not really looking for a bunch of gear right now.
Right.
So
okay, let's pause.
I may not be in a touch with what's really going on,
Okay, so what you said right there, I think a lot of people get this misunderstanding is if you start an Instagram, if you start a YouTube, if you start a podcast, anything that demands an audience, you're almost guaranteed to get product. But it doesn't always necessarily work out like that. But I feel like some people out there are like, oh, it'd be so cool if, I started this overlanding thing, whatever, and then I get all this free crap. It kind of is like a crapshoot. You get the good with the bad, and then the demands and stuff that these companies want from you, it turns out to be a job, and you're like, well, I didn't sign up for this. So I think there's a lot of things, but a lot of people don't understand the backside to this. They don't just send you free crap and say, hey, take pictures of this. No, they've got guidelines, and if you don't hit their target market and stuff like that on an agreed thing, you have to purchase it. Some of that stuff. I mean, there's different contracts.
You have to purchase it, or you have to send it back.
Correct, yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that. So I think a lot of people are getting into that for that aspect, which is cringy, all in of itself. And I always talk about it all the time. I don't care if, and I've said that, and I'm starting to rant a little bit, and I'll digress a little bit. But when, a couple weeks ago, I had a rant and rave episode where I was just kind of like venting to the world. And one of the biggest pet peeves was people that start YouTube, Instagram for this reason solely. And you can tell the difference between influencers who are doing it for the hobby, and you can tell it for the guys and the girls that are doing it for the other reasons. But let's shift gears. I think a lot of people see it. We're not stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
We as a whole community are not stupid, and it's giving us all, especially if you're within the media side of things, it's giving the media side of things a bad rap, and really upsets me. I don't like that at all. And I know you're a straight shooter, and I am too. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So, anyway. What do you want to talk about, Tony? What's your favorite kit or gear that you've bought within the last year that you're just like, this is freaking awesome, that you use regularly?
Well, it's probably going to be considered a kind of a splurgy thing, and it really was. It was expensive, but it really made my life easier, and I touched on it earlier. It made life easier, camping easier, because it helped keep my gear in my truck all the time.
Okay.
So now all I have to do is grab some clothes and some food, and I'm literally ready to go at any time. Right. And the deck drawer system, was huge. Once I finally let go of the, keeping my truck bed open notion for whenever I want to use it at home, and sort of devoted the bed to that camping gear, it's happy. It makes me happy because I don't have to worry about. I know where that stuff's at. It always has a place. I put it back where it goes. So,
what a fantastic product, and it's not targeted towards overlanding. It just so happens that it's so cool that you could use it. It's like for contractors and build jobs, the DIY guy, the fisherman, the outdoorsman. That whole, if you got a pickup truck or a bed, it's for you. And that's literally, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's probably half the freaking market, if not more. There's more trucks out there than cars and SUVs. But
yeah, and I've modified mine to put a water tank and a water pump in it, so that
so
just
cool.
Yeah, it just I absolutely love the way it turned out. And just, what was it, yesterday or the day before, Deck came out with a new system.
Really?
Their new generation drawer systems. So the full size trucks, they were able to somehow further extend the amount or the distance that the drawers open, right? So they fully extend open. So that makes that little cubby hole in the very back a lot easier to get to. But on a truck like mine, and so let me back up. A full size truck, they gained like 10% storage capacity. But on mid-sized trucks like mine, they changed it from a 2-drawer system to a 1-drawer system,
Really?
and it gained 30% storage capacity.
Wow.
So I'm like, wow, think about all the camping stuff I could stuff in there.
I know it. So, like Kelly's
the coffee
Ram,
pot,
so Kelly's Ram Power Wagon, he's got this ginormous silver, aluminum something. The whole thing just goes on top.
The skinny guy, yeah.
Is it
skinny
a skinny guy
camper?
That's theirs? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The one that slides out.
Mm-hmm.
Not the tent. Right? They make their own little thing that slides out.
Yeah.
That's
the
crazy.
thing that's on the back of his truck, I mean, he's had it now for a year and almost a year and a half.
The slider thing? It's not the tent, right? I'm talking about the thing that pulls out.
Wait a minute. You're okay. Okay. You're talking about I forgot he had the bed slide in there.
I don't know what it is, but it's like
it's a bed slide,
or for like fire trucks or something. It's heavy duty.
Yeah.
But he said he put like a 4-wheeler or something stupid on there, and it didn't budge or nothing.
It's got heavy duty ball bearings and stuff in it. Yeah.
Something crazy.
I forget the name of the company, but you know who Bill and Deb are with Cottywomple?
Yeah.
They're in fire and EMS, and Bill somehow knew a company that makes some of the trays and the gear storage for their trucks.
Nice.
And so I guess that's how he came up with that. But
yes, that's freaking brilliant too, because it's like you put all that heavy stuff on top and just throw it out or roll it out.
Yeah, right.
That's cool. Well, what else you want to chat on? I mean, is there anything on your mind?
Well,
I wish I had my media thing open. I could play some think music. I don't know if I've even got it on there. I do have some cool stuff on here I got to play around with. No, it's not even live. So anyway, cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, is there any? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, one of the things that we've talked about, we've been to several of the expos. We're going to go to more expo, man, I think we touched on this before on our podcast, but one thing that we haven't done is like at Rendezvous, we've never been on any of the trail rides. We've always been sort of focused on the vendor area when we were there, or camping, and we've never really broken camp and gone on the trail rides there or the S'more to More rally. And I think I want to try to sort of pull back a little bit and enjoy, some more time camping and wheeling that we've otherwise, sort of spent doing other things within our, our community, I guess. But
right, yeah. I was
so for next year, 2024, it's kind of what we're thinking.
Yeah, sweet. I think I touched. Me and you talked on that on your guys' podcast, and then I mentioned I think on this Monday show because, there's a lot of behind the stuff, and we signed up for this, and it's fun. Don't get me wrong, it's fun. We all have a good time, and but it would be kind of nice to experience what attendees would experience. You know what I'm saying? And document that too. So I think it's a great point. So
Other than that, I mean, if you talk about trips and stuff, we don't really have any big trips planned. There's one that I am really excited about that I can't really. It's not my trip, but it's a Go Explore trip they're working on. They've got some really cool ideas and things that they're working on that would be really cool if that came to pass. But so I'm kind of holding back on scheduling anything to see. How that comes out.
Up or something.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, what's some advice you'd give somebody out there listening that's kind of, I don't know, just new to overlanding? Like, what's some top 5, top 3 suggestions? Could be something that worked for you, but I don't know. Maybe even like finding a local club or anything, planning a trip, organizing, whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I would have to offer is might be a little bit on the cliche side, but I think I've heard you say it several times. Just take what you have and get out and go, and just figure out what you need to get, what you want to get, how you want to change your experience. I highly recommend going to these expos. The Rendezvous. If you're in this area, you don't want to drive from here to Portland for your first expo, but if you're in the area, go to More Expo, go to Rendezvous, meet up, talk to the people that are there camping, go check out their setups and their rigs, and pay attention to what they're doing and what's working for them. I picked up a lot of what I've learned in a similar way, just going and being around the people. The group that you have on Facebook, I think is really cool because there's a lot of ideas shared there that get expanded upon, what might work for a Toyota guy, somebody else chimes in with a Jeep that says, hey, this is similar to what I did, and here's so join the groups, and get out.
Yeah. It's not rocket science.
And watch all your favorite podcasts.
Well, see, I'm working on that. I think I'm going to start. Cat's out of the bag. I mentioned it one time, but I think I want to start doing a live podcast stream once a month. Maybe make it fun. Maybe on a Thursday night or something. Maybe I don't know when. And then just have different kind of multi-hosts on. You might come on, and somebody else can come on with us, and we can just shoot the bull while people are asking us questions and just have a good time. Nothing super serious. Like, this podcast isn't something serious anyway, but it's good, tangible little nuggets, if you will, here and there. You're not gonna digest the whole episode, but you might pick up on one or two cool things. And then sometimes for me, I go back and re-listen to other people's podcasts and see what I missed out on. And it's for me, it's fun. I don't know.
Same.
For a community of people that drive a lot, there's only like a handful of overlanding podcasts, and I don't know why, but man, I eat it up. Snail Trail 4x4 Off-Road Podcast. I love those guys. I love listening to them. They're Toyota guys, but I just like listening to them. And when we're driving long distances, you could download these episodes. Just whatever. If they suck, skip them. Go to the next episode. Ain't nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a subscription to Spotify. I can just go to whoever's channel and just let it play, and it'll go from one right to the next.
Right. It's
so,
fun.
Yeah. Of course,
dude,
assuming you have service.
We're coming up on an hour, but I don't want to end just yet. There was something else I wanted to ask you. Yeah, forget it. I don't even know. I have these thoughts, and I always keep this piece of paper down here, and I'll write them down. And then I didn't write this one down. But anyway, I think we covered a lot of good stuff today.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good chatting to you like always. But
yeah, man. Yeah, it was a good time. Looking forward to the next time we can get together. We've actually, let's see, we really have only wheeled together the one time.
Okay, well, let's do this real quick.
That's when Baker swamped his truck.
Let's talk about that real quick. Okay, so this was February, I believe. I did my 10 rigs from 6 different states, and that's no exaggeration. You would have been the 7th. No, you still would have been the 6th state. You would have been the 11th rig. And Kelly's like, hey, I got a buddy. Do you mind if he shows up? He's in the area. I was like, sure, who is it? He goes, Tony, with Bats Offroad. I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, I don't care. More the merrier. We've never met. I don't think at that point. Maybe one time, but I don't think we ever met.
No.
And I was like, that's cool. I kept an open mind. I wasn't like, nah. You showed up, and you were kind of just like, hey, respectfully, you're like, hey, this is my party. I just showed up, and I think I noticed that, and then we started talking. I was like, this dude's hilarious. He's like me. He's funny. So we talk and have a good time, wheeling. And then, I consider you a good friend, and I feel like that whole trip was spontaneous because we both put ourselves out there. And if you shun yourself from other people, you're not going to make any friends, folks. You gotta put yourself out there. I mean,
that's right. And I really enjoyed that weekend, and I didn't, I sort of joined in halfway and missed out on a fair amount of the fun you guys.
Dude, it was exhausting.
Digging the mud out of your tire before you could get it back on the bead. I bet that was fun.
Dude, yeah, Baker got hung up on a rock in a mud pit or a water hole.
I shouldn't have say he didn't swamp it. He got some water in it, but he didn't swamp it.
Pretty close. And then Kelly, I think 2 tires on that trip, and he had to wait an extra 3 or maybe a week down there to get tires in. I blew a bead off my tire. It was carnage, man, but it was fun.
Kelly and I went to town to pick up a CV axle, and
that's right. I had a CV axle out too.
Yeah, there was something else, but he went to see if he could buy a tire. So we went into town for kind of a multi-purpose trip. We sort of split off. It was Saturday, right? Saturday morning when we did that, because I met up with y'all Friday night.
Right. And
we get into town, and we decided to go eat a burger. We had a great burger in town. I don't even remember the name of the place, but got your CV joint, and then we met up on the trail with you guys. We came in, and you guys were stopped in the trail because somebody coming down the hill with trailers had jacked up the, just clogged up the road. Yeah, it was a mess.
You guys caught us pretty quick. I don't know what town you went to. Do you remember the nearest big town?
Was it Russellville?
Right off 40, I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was Russellville.
And then I was texting Kelly, and I said, go left or right, I forget, at this water. And you both drove right through it because you're both on 37s. He might have been on 40s, but I think you both were on 37s. And you're like, we didn't have any issues. But I think Baker was on 33s.
Yeah.
I doubt 35s, but
maybe.
I'm pretty sure he was on 33s. And it was just a water hole, and there was a big boulder, and it got hung up on his rear diff. So,
well, and he was just leaning just right. I mean, if he had it was level, it probably but it was one of those where he was kind of like this, and it was just seeping in the door jamb. But
and it was February. Yeah. It was cold. It was beautiful. Loved it.
Yeah, it was a great weekend.
We're going to do another one with that same group of guys. And guys, if you're listening, I'm going to send you guys an email or message. We're going to get the band back together, and for every person that can't make it, I'm going to throw that out there to probably on my personal Facebook group, my Facebook page, my personal, whatever. How many times did I say that? And then see who says, yeah, I'll go. And then we'll try to get it to another 10 rigs again. So
do it.
See. I think it'll be
I'm
I
sign me
start
up.
planning it now so you guys can start taking off, start planning accordingly. Last year, I think I took off from a Wednesday to a Sunday and got home Sunday night. So about a 4 or 5 nighter for me. And some guys rolled in on Thursday, some guys rolled in on Friday. But yeah, killer time.
Yeah, I was coming along. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, I rolled in Friday night that trip, and I was like 20 miles away, and I heard you on the radio. I guess we just happened to be on two peaks at the right moment, had a clear line of sight. It was after dark, and I was like, oh my gosh.
So Uncle Wade was coming in that night. You were coming in that night. We were messing with Kelly's flat tire, something stupid. It was raining.
Yep.
And we went to one camp spot, or we kept looking for camp spots. Because I was like, Wade's coming and Tony's coming. We need to drop a pin now.
Yeah.
We couldn't find one. So then, thankfully, that one, I think it was off 7 or something down there. We camped by a bridge or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
it was a neat spot. Yeah.
We found each other. But, man, guys, that's what these trips are all about. If it's perfect, it probably wasn't even fun. Tony, appreciate you hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Follow you.
So, yeah, we are Bats Offroad. My wife is Miss Bats Offroad. And we are basically everything Bats Offroad, Miss Bats Offroad on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
So if you guys don't know this, Tony and Arla own a bat farm, and they breed bats.
No, we just like the sport. No, it's so going back to when my wife, it's actually my wife's nickname, and it's one of those things, when the family gets together, and you ask where'd that come from, it's like
nobody knows.
You don't really get a straight answer, but it basically is just a nickname that a friend of the family gave her when she was like an infant. Something about bats in her belfry or something. I don't know. I don't get it, but so anyway, Bats is her nickname.
Cool, man. You guys,
that's where it started.
This is all going to be in the show notes below. You guys go give them a follow, give them a like, all that stuff. Go check out Brofessor Bats and Friends podcast. They typically, is it every Tuesday, or you guys try to come out every Tuesday at 7 live stream?
Yeah, we do some audio stuff, but the live we try to do just about every Tuesday. Joey's a school resource officer, so it sort of depends on his schedule, because he gets a lot of stuff at church and the hospital and doing the football games and stuff. So but yeah, try to do it every Tuesday.
Nice.
7
when time allots itself.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, bro. Any final words of wisdom?
No, man. I just appreciate you having me on here. It's good talking to you, and looking forward to seeing everybody. Hope everybody can make it out to the camp out.
Yeah, guys, make sure you tune in. We're gonna, I don't know, cookie crummet, bread crummet, whatever you want to call it. You don't want to miss out. It's gonna be a heck of a time.
Yeah.
And guys, I'm gonna keep blabbering. So we're gonna end it here. Tune back in Monday for Overland Shenanigans. We've got a winner for the Super Swag Pack. Finally have a winner for that, guys. You don't want to miss out on that. Tune back in Monday. Guys, I'll see you, I guess, Monday.
Right on.
Until next time, bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.
All right. See how it says record?